My son's wife tried to ban me from his wedding. You won't believe what happened. I never imagined it would come to this. A mother banished from her own son's wedding. The thought alone was a crushing blow to my soul, but here I was on the brink of a nightmare. Life, as it often does, had decided to throw a curveball directly at my heart, leaving me reeling. My son, Dean, was raised with unwavering love and affection. He was never one to rush, always careful and thoughtful, making you feel completely at ease in his presence. He was a good friend, a phenomenal son, someone I was immensely proud of. So, when he introduced me to Layla 2 years ago, my heart flooded with anticipation. Any woman who captured Dean's heart had to be something extraordinary, right? Well, Layla, from the very moment she stepped into my home, I sensed a strange undercurrent. "Judy," she said, her voice laced with a thinly veiled condescension. "This is cozy, very retro. I just love all the patterns." At first, I tried to brush it off. Not everyone appreciates vintage paneling and bold wallpaper. Maybe she was just nervous, but she seemed to have an opinion on everything. Why I should go for lighter, less loud colors, how I could modernize the place. It was delivered with such a condescending tone that made me question every decorating choice I had ever made. I tried my best to accommodate her, to be agreeable, but it was hard, and it only got worse when they announced their engagement. I was naturally thrilled. Dean was my only child, and I wanted to be involved in the planning, even in a small way. Just the little things, perhaps going with them to look at venues. Layla's response was a consistent wall of rejection. "I've got it all under control." And that's when it hit me, a cold, hard realization. Layla didn't want me involved. Not one bit. I tried to tell myself it was just her way, that maybe she was overwhelmed with wedding planning and didn't want to offend me. But my gut screamed otherwise. Then the invitations went out, and I saw the names on the bridal luncheon list. She had invited her mom, of course, but she had also invited the mother of the groom. Nowhere to be found. My name was conspicuously absent. I remember sitting on my couch that night, staring at the photos of that luncheon plastered across Facebook, a hollow ache growing in my stomach. It wasn't just disappointment, it was humiliation. I was completely sidelined. I finally called Dean, my voice shaking with barely contained emotion. "Honey, why didn't you tell me about the luncheon? I would have loved to be there. I thought Layla mentioned it to you." He replied, his tone casual. "She just wanted it to be a thing for the girls she's close to. You know, am I not close enough?" I asked, barely holding myself together. "I'm your mom." "Mom, don't take it personally. Layla's just..." I wanted to scream, but I held it in. "So particular that she doesn't want me there." "Mom, please don't make this harder than it is. It's just one day, my son's wedding day." And from that moment on, Layla had made it abundantly clear that I wasn't going to be involved. But I didn't truly understand the depth of her exclusion until the day I got the call from Layla herself. It was 3 weeks before the wedding. "Judy," she started, her voice smooth as ever, deceptively sweet. "I wanted to talk to you about something." My heart leaped with a fragile hope. Maybe this was her reaching out, a turning point. "Of course, Layla," I replied, trying to sound as pleasant as possible. "What's on your mind?" "Look, I know this might be a bit awkward, but I want to be honest with you. We've been working with a wedding planner to create a very specific look and feel for the ceremony. It's minimal, elegant, and streamlined," she began, "and I've been thinking. I hope you can understand this. I think it might be best if you didn't attend." "Attend?" The word caught in my throat. "Are you saying you don't want me at the wedding?" She hesitated, the silence stretching on, thick with unspoken implications. "Yes, but we just don't want anything, or anyone, to distract from the aesthetic. I know you have a bold style, and sometimes you tend to be a little vocal. I really hope you can understand. I'd rather not make this any more difficult than it has to be." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My hand started shaking, and I had to grip the phone tightly just to steady myself. "Layla, this is my son's wedding. I have every right to be there." She was silent for a moment. "Judy, I'm trying to be nice about this. We just want everything to go smoothly." That's when it felt like my heart truly broke. My son agreed to this. I couldn't hold back any longer. "Layla, I don't care what kind of aesthetic you're going for. I've been in Dean's life since the day he was born. I have every right to see him get married, and no amount of color schemes or minimalism is going to change that. Do you understand?" I couldn't believe the words that came out of my mouth. Without another word, I hung up. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking, this is my son, the boy I raised, the boy I ought to tie his shoes, who came to me with every scraped knee and broken heart. And now he's willing to push me out of his life because of a woman who doesn't think I fit into her vision. For a few days, I thought maybe I should just let it go, avoid the scene, and save myself the embarrassment. I would be a good mom by protecting my son's big day. But every time I imagined my son getting married with no mother present, a searing pain ripped through my soul. I couldn't just step aside. I had to at least try to be there for him. The day of the wedding arrived. I dressed carefully, choosing a simple navy blue dress. I wasn't looking to be the center of attention. I just wanted to look presentable, be there quietly, and see my son get married. I got in my car, drove to the venue, and arrived just as the ceremony was starting. I stood at the edge of the crowd, hidden behind a row of decorative trees. For a moment, just seeing him up there, everything else faded away. I was so proud of him, so full of love for my son. But then the ceremony ended, and the crowd began to move towards the reception area. I stayed back, trying to keep a low profile. But it wasn't long before Layla noticed me. She hurried over, clearly agitated. "Judy," she whispered, her voice tight with barely controlled fury. "I thought you weren't coming." I kept my voice calm, though my insides were churning. "Layla, this is my son's wedding. I had every intention of being here, and I don't care who likes it or not." Judy, her face was red, a vein throbbing in her forehead. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here because this is my son's wedding, Layla," I replied, my voice rising slightly despite my efforts. "I told you not to come. I told you this wasn't going to work. This was supposed to be our day, and you just couldn't stay away. Could you?" "Layla," I said, trying to reason with her, though I knew it was likely futile. "I've given you all the space you wanted. I stayed out of the planning. I respected your choices, even when it meant being left out of my own son's life. But I will not let you keep me from seeing my son get married. If you're really so worried about your day being ruined, then maybe you need to look at yourself." Layla's face turned a shade of red I didn't even know was possible. She opened her mouth to retort, but Dean appeared beside her. He looked torn, uncomfortable, and it took everything in me not to burst into tears right there. This was my son, my boy, caught in this impossible situation, and all I wanted was for him to stand by me, just this once. "Mom," he said quietly, looking pained, "I thought we talked about this." "Dean, we never talked about this," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Layla made the decision for you, and you went along with it. I need to hear it from you, Dean. If you really don't want me here, I'll leave. But I need you to tell me that." "Mom," he stammered, his eyes darting nervously between Layla and me. I didn't want there to be any issues. Layla wanted everything to be perfect, and me being here ruins that for her. "Dean, I've stood by you your whole life. I raised you alone after your father passed. I've never asked for anything in return. But today, I just want to be here for you. Not for anyone else, just for you." Layla crossed her arms, her face a mask of simmering resentment. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him, trapped between the woman he loved and his own mother. "Dean, Layla," I could hear murmurs starting, people looking over at us with curious, even judgmental, expressions. I suddenly felt incredibly exposed, standing there in front of everyone, my heart laid bare for all the world to see. Then, a voice from behind me broke the tense silence. "She's his mother. She deserves to be here." Someone I didn't even recognize had spoken up in my defense. Then another voice chimed in, a woman near the front. "Yeah, what kind of wedding keeps out the groom's own mother?" Suddenly, more people were murmuring, nodding in agreement. The whispers grew louder, bolder. "Is she really banning his mom? Unbelievable. Who does that?" Layla looked around, her face a mixture of fury and panic. For once, she could feel control slipping from her grasp, and for a split second, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. Finally, Dean took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling visibly. "Mom," he said, his voice louder, firmer than before. "I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I was wrong. I was so afraid of making things harder." Layla's face went ashen. "No, you decided what was right," Dean continued, "and I went along with it because I thought it would make things easier. But this isn't right. My mother belongs here. She's family." The room was silent, all eyes on Layla. She looked around, her face twisted into a look of disbelief and betrayal, and for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of something akin to fear in her eyes. Muttering something under her breath that I couldn't quite catch, Dean went over to her looking almost distraught. For a moment, he just stood there. Then, he looked at me, and his face softened. "Mom," I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him, holding him tight. "You have nothing to apologize for. Dean, I love you, and I am so proud of you." He hugged me back, his grip tight. I could tell that, for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was in control of his own life again. The rest of the evening was a bit tense, but Beth came over, and honestly, I didn't care. I was there with my son, and that's all that mattered. Dean and I spent the rest of the evening catching up with old friends and family, reminiscing, laughing, and just enjoying the moment. The drama from earlier seemed to fade away as the night wore on. After the reception, Dean walked me to my car. He looked tired but relieved. "Mom," he said, "I don't know what the future holds, but I'm done letting people push you out of my life. I'm done letting anyone make me feel like I have to choose." Smiling through the tears in my eyes, I squeezed his hand. "Dean, you don't have to choose. I just want you to be happy." He gave me a small, genuine smile. I think, for the first time in a long time, I know what that means. Over the next few months, things between Dean and Layla got rough. She was furious with him, and it was clear that she wasn't used to not getting her way. They tried to work it out, but the more Dean started standing up for himself, the more Layla resisted. Eventually, it became clear that she wasn't willing to compromise. One evening, he called me, his voice soft and tired. "Mom," he said, "Layla and I decided to separate. She gave me an ultimatum," he said. "She told me it was either her way, with no interference from anyone, all was over. I took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. Dean, I'm so sorry. I know that can't be easy. He was silent for a moment. It's okay, Mom. To be honest, I feel like I can finally breathe again. Over the next few months, Dean took the time to rebuild his life, to find himself again. He reconnected with old friends, spent more time with family. Slowly, our relationship grew stronger, and we became closer than ever. Then, a year later, Dean met someone new, a woman who accepted him for who he was, flaws and all. When Dean told me they were getting married, he insisted on involving me in every step of the planning. I was there for the cake tastings, the dress shopping, even the venue scouting. For the first time, I felt like a real part of his life again. On the day of their wedding, I watched Dean stand at the altar, beaming. Teresa looked radiant, and as they exchanged vows, I felt a sense of closure. This was the wedding we both dreamed of, one filled with love, family, and genuine joy. At the reception, Dean pulled me aside and hugged me tight. Mom, he whispered, thank you for always being there, even when I didn't deserve it. Tears filled my eyes as I held him close. You always deserve it, Dean. I love you, and I am so proud of the man you've become. Looking around at the room filled with laughter, warmth, and genuine joy, it felt like everything had come full circle, knowing that he was finally with someone who truly loved and accepted him. As the night winded down, Teresa came over and hugged me tightly. Judy, I just want you to know how much it means to me to have you in our lives. I can't wait for all the family dinners and holiday gatherings and just everything. Oh, Teresa, you're too sweet, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. Thank you for making my son so happy. He's worth it, and so are you. Mom, Dean said, holding out his hand. You know, it wouldn't be right if we didn't have a dance. Well, I wouldn't want to disappoint the groom, I laughed. Dean led me to the dance floor, and as the slow song began, he looked down at me, his face filled with gratitude. I was lost, Mom, and you never gave up on me. Even when I was pushing you away. I shook my head, smiling up at him. A mother's love doesn't just disappear because things get hard. I'll always be here, no matter what. As the song came to a close, he kissed my cheek. I didn't realize how much I needed to stand on my own. How much I needed to be around people who loved me, not just for how I fit into their lives, but for who I really am. As the song ended, he kissed my cheek, and for the first time in years, I knew that things were going to be okay. Dean had grown into himself, and he finally found the happiness he deserved. As I drove home that night, it hadn't been easy, but in the end, love and patience had won. Dean was happy, and I had my family back. There was no grand apology or dramatic reconciliation, and the drive home that night was quiet. But I was grateful for Teresa. There was a beauty in all of it, and I was finally where I was supposed to be. But the story didn't end there, and it was once only hoped for. Dean and Teresa would invite me over for dinner. It was the small everyday moments that made me feel like I was truly part of their lives again. I was finally the mom again, not just some optional extra in the background. One evening, Dean called me out of the blue. Hey, Mom, he said, playfully, which I hadn't heard in a long time. We were wondering if you'd come over tomorrow night. Teresa and I have something we want to tell you. Oh, absolutely, I replied, my curiosity piqued. I'll be there. Should I bring dessert? Bring whatever you want, he said with a laugh. We really want you there. The next evening, when I walked in, Teresa greeted me with a warm hug, and Dean was right behind her. We sat around the table, so we wanted you to be the first to know, Mom. He started reaching for Teresa's hand across the table, the shorter look that was so full of excitement and love. Mom, he said, his voice catching slightly, you're going to be a grandmother. For a second, I couldn't even speak. The words hit me like a tidal wave. Are you? I replied. Teresa nodded, her smile radiant. Yes, Judy, we'll do it in the spring. I couldn't hold back my tears, and it nearly took my breath away. My son was having a child, and overwhelming warmth of it all, and of knowing that I would be part of this next chapter in his life, and brought me to tears again. We want you to be a big part of our child's life. Your family, Mom, and I know I haven't always shown it, but you're the best mother I could have asked for. I want my child to have that and all the years of separation. I hugged him again, and this time, I didn't hold back. Dean, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much, and I'll always be here for you, Teresa. Always. As the months went on, Dean and Teresa involved me in everything. They even invited me to Teresa's baby shower, something I'd never thought I'd experience with my son's wife. I was laughing and enjoying every moment alongside her friends and family. When their baby finally arrived, a beautiful little girl they named Hazel, I was there at the hospital, waiting anxiously in the hall. Dean came out to tell me the news, and my heart swelled with more love than I ever thought was possible. Watching Dean become a father was one of the greatest joys of my life. He was a natural, and it was beautiful to watch him finally find peace and happiness, and to know that I was a part of it. Hazel and I cherish every moment with her, from her first giggle to her first steps. I was there, a constant part of her life. Dean and Teresa never failed to make me feel included, to let me know how much they valued my presence in their lives. I became Grandma Judy, the person Hazel would run to with open arms every time I walked through the door. Holidays were filled with laughter, birthdays were celebrated together, and the sense of family that I had once feared was lost had returned. Dean and I had come a long way, and every time he called me to check in or invite me over for dinner. A few years later, Dean and I were sitting on the porch watching Hazel chase fireflies in the backyard. The sun was set, casting a golden glow of everything, his face off with gratitude. Mommy said quietly, "Thank you. Thank you for never giving up on me. I know I put you through hell, but you never gave up. You are worth every second." I would do it all over again, every struggle, every tear, because I knew that somewhere deep down you'd find your way back. I love you and I always will, no matter what. And in that moment, I realized that I had everything I ever needed. My son, my family, and a life filled with love and second chances. Play in the end, unbreakable. Our family was whole, and I was home, and that's all any of us could ask for. Knowing all that you now know about this story and the events that unfolded, do you believe I handled the situation with Layla and Dean correctly given the circumstances, or were there alternative approaches I could have taken that might have led to a different outcome? I welcome your opinions and perspectives on my actions and any insights you may have, based on your own experiences or understanding of similar family conflicts.